Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, and that is Scott F.
Hey, I'm Scott. I'm an alcoholic. Thanks, Laura, for asking me to come out and speak. I was watching Matilda read, and my heart went out to her because it's terrifying to get up here and read and be in front of a group of people. And so let's take a breath. Calm the fuck down, all right? Let's just calm down. If you're new here and it's intimidating to you, let's do this exercise because it helps me, okay? Just look around the room. Take a look around at the people around you. Go on. Take a look around at everybody. Okay? Most of these people have sucked dick for drugs. Okay? It's not so intimidating, is it, anymore? Yeah. See, there's a lot of guys in it. When I first came to meetings, I'd see all the prison guys, tough guys, been to prison, scary. Suck dick. Not so scary. There is nothing cool about being the coolest guy in AA. Nothing cool about it. Yeah. Here is a bunch of people who have no fucking idea how to live whatsoever. Everybody's man, appearances are deceiving. I would come to this meeting. I hated this meeting for years, and I'm still not quite through with hating it. Almost. I would come to this meeting and I would look around and I'd be like, man, you people, what problems do you have? I would look and the girls, they got, a pair of shoes on that cost more than my car, and I'm like, fuck you, I hated it. I hated coming here. And then I started thinking about what you guys did to get here, and it made it okay. And so let's talk. Thank you for sharing, your hope. First of all, let's just get fucking alcoholism out the way, all right? And let's just break it down to what it is. Because a lot of people in here will, they'll say I'm an alcoholic, but they don't know what that even means, Nobody explained it to me when I got here, and I really thought, and I'd listen to some of your stories and I'd be like, man, you really are an alcoholic, people would drink, be like, I drank 3/5 a day. I didn't. I don't know how you physically do that, but I would hear people say that and I'd be like, well, maybe I'm not an alcoholic. And I really focused on the drinking and the using, and I started to feel maybe like I was in the wrong place. Luckily, this has got fuck all to do with alcohol. Nothing. Alcohol is just a symptom of the problem. The problem is, I cannot stop thinking about myself. And I fucking hate myself. And that's it. That's alcoholism right there. I cannot stop thinking about me, and I hate what I see. And so what I do is I shoot heroin. You know, or Seconal, or Nembutol, or Tuinol, or, you know, or I drink, depending on, you know, if I can't get drugs or not. And I've never really related to cocaine addicts. I don't want to offend you, because I know that some of you in here really, you're proud of it. Like, you know, that's your badge, and God bless you, you know, but we never hung out, you know, because you guys are really fucking annoying, you know. You do not shut up. God bless, you know, I understand we, you know, don't always pick our poison, but I'm not going to help you move your furniture, you know. We're not going to go look outside in the trees for ATF agents and shit, you know. I am trying to get high. You are bumming me out, you know. Fucking cocaine addicts. You know, the last 2 weeks of my using were with cocaine addicts. 2 weeks. And I got sober. You know, I shot dope for 8 years before that, you know, and 2 weeks with a bunch of guys smoking crack, and I'm like, I am fucking done. I am so done with this life, you know. I always, you know, I don't understand why you would want to be any more awake. I like to be asleep. That's my drug. That's what I do. Whatever drug, I do it to fall asleep. I don't like being here. You know, I don't like being awake, because when I'm loaded, you know, when I'm out there, I hate myself. I mean, you have to hate yourself, right, to do what you got to do in order to get high. You got to. You got to hate yourself in order to lie to the people that love you. You have to. It's a requirement. You cannot have any self-esteem. It is impossible, you know. You know, coming here, low self-esteem was so far away. It was such a goal, you know. Like, one day I aspire to low self-esteem, you know. And so, you know, when we see newcomers walk in here and we say, you know, do something good for yourself. Get a sponsor. They look at us like, what are you, what? Maybe you don't understand, but I have no self-esteem. I couldn't really give a shit if I lived or died. I'm hoping I get struck by a car. I read when I got sober, and it was the height of AIDS, and I was like, God, I hope I have AIDS, you know, because first of all, I don't want to be sober, okay? And secondly, you get presents, you know, and sympathy. And I like presents and sympathy, you know? But lo and behold, no. So I'm going to tell the newcomers right now, you're probably not going to die, okay? I'm sorry. You're probably going to just go on and on and on, getting worse and worse and feeling worse and doing things you said you'd never do. How many of those things do people do in this room who said, God, that disgusts me. You know, I will never do that. And then they did it. And it wasn't that bad. I can get over it, you know. So, you know, there's two things that I'm really not good at, that I'm pretty sure, I'm sure there's many, but there's two that stand out for me. One is math. Just never been any good at it, you know. And the other is listening to your drunkalog. No offense, but I don't care. I know it's interesting to you. I get it. I gotta tell you, mine, extremely interesting to me, you know? Yours, not so much. So I'm not gonna do that. And I don't do that, you know? It's not interesting talking about getting loaded. You know, if that's the part that interests you in speakers, then I guess you're here for research, because I've done it all. I've done it all. I'm here to find out, how the fuck do you stop hating yourself? That's what I'm here for. You know, when I stay sober, not because I think sobriety is cool, because I don't. I don't think sobriety is great. I would love to fucking smoke a doobie. I love pot. Pot is, look man, I never fucking put a gun in anyone's face for pot. Ever, you know? I didn't steal a TV for pot. I wish I could smoke pot. It would be great. Today, didn't really have much to do. Would have been a great pot day, you know? Would have been killer, you know? I got some video games I haven't opened yet. My God, it would have been just an amazing day, you know? But here's the thing. This is why, you know, it happens to be a requirement in order for me to stop hating myself and get to a place where I actually want to live, that I can't use anything. It pisses me off, you know? I hear people, you know, talk about how much they, you know, how grateful they are that they don't use anymore. And I got to tell you, I'm not that grateful, you know? Some days I just like, you know, I just want to get hammered. But I know what happens, you know, when you're talking about having a drink. That's the fantasy. It says in the book, the great obsession of every abnormal drinker is to someday control and enjoy their drinking. That's my fantasy, that I will somehow control and enjoy my using. And I've never had a drink in my life. I can't really see the point. You know? You know, sometimes I'll go out, you know, I meet a lot of people in my job, and while many are alcoholic, many are not. And sometimes we'll hang out and they'll have, you know, like half a beer and put, you know, and they put it down, and I'm looking at them like, you know, like, you are disrespecting that beer, you know. I don't understand, you know, and they look at me and I say, you know, this is what I did once to get high. And they're like, you are crazy. They don't get it. They don't get it, you know. You cannot go to your job, you know, understanding here, this is the only place in the world where I get to be absolutely, completely honest, as I am doing right now, much to my chagrin. This is not what I want to do. I don't want to stand up here. But I got asked, and so I will do it. But you cannot go to work and say, you know what, God, you know, I know we got a lot of work. I really just can't do it today because I was molested when I was 9. You know? They kind of don't care, you know, they kind of want you to go to work and do your work. In Alcoholics Anonymous, though, I can be completely open. I can tell you exactly what's going on. You know, nobody walks in here because they want to be a part of this club. This is not, you know, a cool club. You walk in here because you are fucked. You know? We walk in here because we're in so much pain that there's nowhere else to go. I walked into this program so steeped in pain, I couldn't even feel it. You know, people would say to me, how you doing? And I would look at them like if they just asked me to explain quantum physics. Because I don't know. Because I haven't had a feeling in 20 years. Understand, I had to leave in order to live. I couldn't be here. I had to leave. I had no feelings. People died and I had no feelings. Great events happened and I had no feelings, you know. I got here and I had no feelings. And it took me maybe 10 years of being sober before I started feeling. Because that's what we do to ourselves. You know? I hated being new. I hated it. You know, people, I mean, they asked me to lead a meeting in my first couple of weeks of sobriety. And it was a late night meeting in Venice. There was about 10 people there. Everybody looked like they just got out the joint. And I told the secretary that I can't read. I went to Oxford. That was a bit of a lie. You know? I did not want to be a part of this thing. I started going to meetings because I had nothing else to do. You know, it fascinates me when, you know, I talk to guys I sponsor and I say to them, you know, have you finished this step? And they say no. And I say, well, it's been 2 weeks. I've given you 2 weeks. You asked me for my help. Are you wasting my fucking time? Because I got better things to do. So why aren't you doing the step that I asked you to do, that you asked me to help you with? You know, like, it's not like I came up to you and said, you got to do this step. You asked me. And they say, oh, I don't know. I'm just, you know, I'm busy. You know, I just got to find time. I'm working. I got the wife, or, you know, and I say to them, you know, look, if I said to you, you have that inventory ready for me tomorrow, or you got a Folsom Penitentiary for the next 5 years, would you have it done? And all of them say yes. And I say, wow, that's really interesting how you value your freedom, but you don't value your life. You don't value my time, and you're just wasting both of them. Because I wish it was a matter of we come to meetings and just everything changes. That would be fucking great, you know? If I could just show up to meetings and listen to speakers, or read, you know, chapter 5, or clean some coffee cups, and my life changes and everything gets great. That would be terrific. That's not it. That's the fellowship, you know? And for those people who see people with, you know, there's this contingent of people I've seen for the last 20 years who have more commitments than I've had hot dinners. You know, they got commitments for everything. You know, like if I see them in a meeting, I'm guaranteed they got a fucking commitment at that meeting, you know? And they've got 15 days, 20 days. And this is 20 years. And it just goes to show having a commitment at a meeting is not really enough to keep you sober, apparently. It teaches you humility, not humiliation. It teaches you humility. It teaches you to be humble, teaches you to be of service. It removes your ego piece by piece. Washing coffee cups, it's degrading. You know, I bet there's people sitting in here who've never, ever, ever cleaned up after a meeting. Ever. You selfish fuck. I'll guarantee you, look, I'm not here to make friends. I got enough friends, you know. Wash a fucking coffee cup. Go sweep up. When the guy says, I need some fucking people to help me clean up after the meeting, stick your hand up. You know, we're not a charity for you. Participate. You know, so many people come to meetings and they're just, you know, like, I don't feel a part of. I don't feel a part of. I feel different. They never fucking commit to doing anything here. They never take a commitment. They sit at the back of the meeting. They judge everybody. You know, well, I would not feel a part of either. You know, it's amazing when you actually get involved. It's weird. You start feeling a part of. And that's great. That's the fellowship. And the fellowship is amazing. It has taught me so many things. How to be social. You know, like, man, social grace is not a strong suit for addicts and alcoholics. You know? We come to meetings and, you know, I used to sit there and I'd be like, I'd scowl at everybody. You know? If I had to hold hands at the end of the meeting to say a prayer, I would use my pinkies, you know, just to let you know I was not happy about doing this, you know, having to touch you, you know. Very angry, you know. I was very angry newcomer in this fellowship. There was a guy called Lenny S. I love Lenny. I just spoke to him this week. He is about 20 years sober now, and remember, he was quitting smoking. We had about 9 months together. And he was the treasurer of this meeting we went to, and he passed the baskets around, and we all put cigarettes in the basket, you know. Just dicks, you know. But we had a lot of fun, and the fellowship was a lot of fun. And I learned to make friends here. The first real friends I'd ever had. And it wasn't enough. And I became secretary of a meeting and heard a lot of great speakers, and it wasn't enough. And I started getting stuff, not huge stuff. I don't know if I'll ever have huge stuff, but stuff I liked, and it wasn't enough. And I started to wonder, when the fuck does the feeling good part start? Because now I can't stop thinking about me. I hate what I see, and I can't get loaded. And it becomes intolerable. You know, there was a meeting that we used to hold down Promises down in West LA. There was a meeting across the street. There was an old house there. We used to have this meeting across the street there, and there was a guy called Paul. Had a number of years, a lot of years. I don't remember how many, but it was a lot of years when I was new. And very active in this meeting. You know, treasurer, or then book guy, or secretary, you know, for years, very active, always positive, always made time for you, always spoke to you, always said, how you doing? And I really looked up to him. I maybe had a year at the time. And one week he didn't show up for the meeting. And a few of us were like, well, he's supposed to be here. He's got a commitment. It's very unlike him to not be here. So after the meeting, we drove over to his house just to see, you know, because this is what AAs, I don't know if it still happens, but this is what AAs at that time did for each other. Just to make sure, just to check up. Maybe he'd been hurt. Maybe he couldn't, you know, he wasn't married, you know. And he wasn't in the house. And we opened up the garage, and he was swinging from the rafters. Because guys with time have difficulty talking about what's going on with them. And I don't worry so much about the newcomer, you know? I don't worry so much about the people that are new here, because it's just enough dazzling to keep you sober a while, you know? Like, it's like, you know, there's a lot of people gonna fuck a lot of people in this room, you know, and that will keep you sober a while. I'm just saying, look, I'm not making anything up, you know. It's great going to conventions, it's great coming to meetings, it's great getting money because now you got jobs, you know, that you keep, you know, and stuff, and it's great, and it really is great. And then it gets real. And I see, you know, people make the ultimate sacrifice, and you will do one of two things. You will either Ask your sponsor to finally show you how to work the steps, because you cannot live in your skin for a minute longer. And you will work the steps that you have heard speakers talk about time and time and time again. And you will finally be, beaten into a state of submission. And you will change. Your life will change. Everything about you will change. And you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. I think many of us have had that experience. Or you'll choose what's behind door B. And that's the great unknown. And I'm not so worried about going out and dying. Look, I made it to 40. I've done so much more than I ever thought I could do. Dying doesn't scare me. But picking up and not dying terrifies me. And people make that sacrifice. And, man, that's a pretty shitty decision. I understand it, but it's really kind of a shitty decision. Alcoholics are the only people on the face of the planet where they say, okay, look, got a fatal disease. It will kill you eventually, but first of all, it's going to fuck you in the ass for a long time, all right? And when it's done with you, then maybe it'll kill you. Or maybe it'll fuck you in the ass again. We don't know. Or, so you got a choice. You got this fatal disease. Now, we have a solution, okay? There's a book. Everything's in this book. The whole solution, everything. If you don't understand it, there's thousands of people who will sit down and read it with you and go through it line by line and tell you what's in it. There is no excuse for not doing the steps. No excuse. And your life will change. And it'll be great. Or you can want to die every day for the rest of your life. And alcoholics go, hold on. I got to think about this, man. Go over to Cedars, go over to the cancer ward over there and say to them, hey man, if there was a book, right, that we gave you and that you read and then you kind of filled out a questionnaire type thing and then talked to some cats afterwards and maybe said sorry about some stuff, but absolutely guaranteed no cancer anymore, you interested? Or do you want to continue with the whole chemo thing, I'm pretty sure they'd take you up on your offer. And alcoholics are the only group that I know that go, I don't know, lifetime of pain or everything I've ever wanted. I don't know. And that's alcoholism. That is the baffling nature of alcoholism, where, and people do this sober. Just because we're not drinking doesn't mean that we're, changing. Not drinking is just a fucking requirement for me to be able to do the rest of the shit, I just can't really do an inventory while I'm smacked out. It's just difficult for me, I don't know. I can't find a pen, If there's paper, it's been smoked, it is. So I kind of have to be sober in order to do this shit, No big whoop. Okay, all right. Now, if you're relying on somebody else in here to keep you sober, you're in fucking murky waters. Okay? I'll guarantee you, everybody in here will let you down at some point because they're a bunch of alcoholics. everyone's going to have an off day and you're going to call them and they're not going to call you back and you're going to go, fuck these people. They said they would always help me. They would always call me back, you know, and they don't. And oh, fuck them. I'm giving up, you know. Well, people are going to let you down. People are going to let you down in life. This is called life, you know. It's like, you know, there's a great saying, you know, alcoholics are like, you know, expect a pat on the back for running out of a burning building. You know, just because we're doing, you know, right doesn't mean that, you know, I mean, I am an alcoholic. I would love every day when I walk into work for there to be a parade, you know? Like, he's here again. Oh my God, you know, like, we love you. That's because I got up. You know, like, come on. It was difficult. You know, like, that's what I expect. That doesn't happen. It pisses me off, but it doesn't happen. You know, and we come here and maybe the fellowship keeps us sober for a while. But ultimately, what changes our lives as alcoholics is developing a relationship with a power greater than ourselves. That's it. Now, I'm not here to tell you what that is. I'm not even here to fucking explain what I'm talking about. Go read the book, you know. There's a in the appendix 2, a spiritual experience. It's right there in the book. Go read it. It's really short. You know, you only really need to read the first paragraph too, you know. And that was difficult because I think for a lot of us walking in here, we'd either had no religious convictions or we had run away from the ones that we were brought up with. And I was raised Jewish by 2 Orthodox, well-meaning Jews who were completely fucking nuts. And, you know, I got to tell you, man, I don't read Hebrew. I don't really believe the whole thing. I was a bit of a skeptic as a kid, you know. I remember when I first heard the story of Jesus in school, I'm like, all right, so hold on a minute. So people believe in ghosts. And he said, no. And I said, well, what's the rising from the dead bit? And I just started picking it apart, man. And I just started going, oh, I see. It's bullshit. Oh, I got it. It's all bullshit, and it keeps people in line. I see. All right, fair enough. Okay, good. That's done with, you know. When, you know, I took the bar mitzvah money, and we ran, you know, and that was it. And on Thursday, I was, I went to get my hair cut, and I'm riding my bike down Pico. There's like no traffic, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? There is nobody here, you know? And then I started getting, like, seeing little pockets of Jews, you know, like, and I'm like, oh, something's going on, man. Something huge is going on today, you know, and happy Yom Kippur, apparently. I am not the world's greatest Jew. I'll tell you that right now. Although I got to tell you, great day for errands, you know? Schedule your errands on Jewish high holy days. Fantastic. You can get it all done. So when I got into the program and they started saying, hey, there's this whole God thing, I was like, ooh, yeah. Well, you see, I don't do that. I like the whole not, you know, using bit. That's great. I'm totally into it. But that whole God bit, I kind of know what's happening there, and you completely lost my respect by even bringing it up, actually, you know. But, you know, and I'd hear the speakers, and they'd be like, these great speakers, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so going to ask that fucking dude to sponsor me. Oh my God, that dude's going to change my life. And then at the end of their thing, they would talk about God, and I'd be like, whew, back up, you know. Let's not talk to that dude at all, you know? I don't want nothing to do with that. I needed a power greater than myself at some point in my sobriety, or I was going to use. That's it. You could not keep me sober any longer. So I had to, we walk in here with core beliefs. Everybody. Now, our beliefs may be different, but our core beliefs are things along the lines of, I am unlovable. I am not worthy of your time. I am a mistake. I am unlucky. I am incapable of feeling. I will never have what other people have. Core beliefs. Maybe these are just mine. And these things guide my life. They guide my life. I don't pursue great jobs because I don't believe I deserve them. I don't pursue great relationships because I don't believe I deserve them. I don't pursue sobriety because I don't believe I deserve it. These are core beliefs. I can't change them. I can't change them. Whatever happened, I don't know, man. Something happened when I was a kid. These are what I believe. These are my core beliefs. I couldn't change them through stuff, and I couldn't change them through women. I couldn't change them through getting time sober. And eventually I was forced into a corner. And I was forced to look at step 3. And I consider step 3 to be the step that separates those who are going to stay here and those that aren't. And step 3 was maybe the hardest decision I have ever made. Because I didn't necessarily believe it. And I also thought that I had to have a clear and concise picture of what this God thing was. And when I actually got into step 3 and started looking in the book, it said that I just have to start with a tiny seed of spiritual, of what God could be. And I started writing down what God had to be. Okay, if I got to do this fucking thing, then what is God to me? And I started writing stuff down. And, I hear people talk about their judgmental gods, and fuck, I don't know how you do it, My God thinks I am fucking fantastic, I am my God's favorite. God thinks everything that comes out of my mouth is fucking, really? God is looking for jobs for me the whole time, God is taking care of I'm just like, do your job, God. I'll show up when you need me, okay? If I mow down a busload of school children with an AK, God still thinks I'm great. That's my God. And then sometimes I'll watch people and they'll, because man, you are going to do fucked up shit sober. You are. You will, because you are human. And I watch people and they do something, maybe, I don't know, they cheat on their fucking boyfriend. Maybe they, steal a little something from work. Maybe because we're human and we have fear. And sometimes we react to it. And I watch those people, and those people at that time turn right away from God because they are ashamed. And I don't want a fucking judgmental God like that. In fact, at those moments, I better be pals with God because I'm in trouble. And so it has taken me years to develop a relationship with God where I am comfortable, where I believe in God. And it is not a religious God by any means. And I am not going to even waste my breath on trying to explain it to you because I cannot. I can't explain it. All I know is this. The core belief that I'm unlovable doesn't exist anymore. I don't think I'm God's gift, but I'm married to a woman who thinks I'm great. And I think she's great for thinking I'm great. You know? I've got to be honest with you. I got a kid who's 12 who has never seen me loaded and who thinks I am fucking great. I mean, she wants to hang out with me all the time to the point where it's fucking annoying, you know? Like, I got shit to do, you know? But she thinks I'm great. You know, I work with a bunch of guys who think I'm the best at what I do. I don't believe that I'm unlovable anymore. I don't believe that I'm not worth anything anymore. But I didn't change that. I didn't change that by wishing and hoping I could not change that. So what the fuck changed it? And I can't come up with anything but God. I can't. I wish it wasn't, because it sounds so lame and gay, you know, but I can't. No offense, I don't mean gay in a bad way, okay? Don't be so fucking sensitive. It's AA. You know, my hope is for all of us here that you do the steps. That's my hope. Because these days I actually do have feelings when I go to funerals. And I don't like that. And, you know, do me a favor and do your fucking steps. I don't want to come to your funeral. It's a drag, man. Not because I'm fucking, you know, broken up about you, although I understand, you know. But, man, I don't want to see your kids, your mother, your sisters and brothers and dads. And I don't want to, you know, I don't want to see them anymore. It's heartbreaking. I don't want to see them anymore. And the fact that it doesn't have to happen is fucking astonishing. You don't have to do it tonight, but do it. Just do it. Just do it. You have nothing else going on. You know it, and I know it. You know? Just fucking do it. Make the time. Call your sponsor. Do the steps. Call them. Keep bugging them. If they can't, don't call you back. Call another one. Just do it. Please. I'm not pitching AA here. I'm just sick of going to funerals, man. I'm sick of it. And anybody can stay sober. Anybody. Anybody. I've seen some people I wish would never have stayed sober, stay sober. I wish it wasn't true, but it's true, you know. You know, I wish everybody here, you know, just a moment of surrender, you know, just a moment of surrender. And thanks so much for listening.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here. remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.